Greetings and season's greetings. It's been a while. A lot of things have happened in the last couple of months, and I'm still trying to get over it all. So we're not going to talk politics or anything else. We're going to go to something a little safer, except for it may not be safe depending on your opinion in life or who you follow. We're going to talk a little Dallas sports. Dallas sports have got an interesting year going on ever since the Rangers won the championship over a year ago, the World Series, and then the Mavericks and Stars made serious runs to win their respective championships in their sports, and the Mavericks getting really close. Things have not been going well for Dallas sports. Rangers had an interesting year. We'll just call it that and leave it at that. I'm sure they're trying to put things back together. I know they re-signed one of their major players from the World Series win a couple weeks ago. I haven't really been following the Rangers off-season that much, the Texas Rangers, that is. And the Dallas Stars, not quite sure what to think about them yet. We got a long year to go. The biggest, and I think everybody knows this, the biggest disaster in the last 12 months has been this Cowboys season. Dallas Cowboys have not done well. They started to make some kind of attempt at coming back into the season, and then they had an infamous block punt play. And that just about sunk everything when it comes to fans' attitudes. I know there's still some diehards who think somehow or another we're going to catch up to the Washington Commanders. I just don't see it. Falcons aren't going to overtake the Commanders. Cowboys might beat the Commanders, but if Washington beats the Falcons, it's a done deal for the Cowboys, no matter what, if Cowboys win out. And the Cowboys have to play the Eagles. So them winning out, unless the Eagles decide to rest everybody on planet Earth and bring in some local favorites just to play a football game, I don't think the Cowboys are going to make the playoffs this year. I originally predicted the Cowboys would end up 10-7 and make the playoffs, but that was before. And let's be honest, everybody wants to fire somebody, the coaches and all that. This has been you hate to use the word bad luck, but it's been bad luck for the Cowboys. That block punt play the other night, a little over a week ago, against the Bengals, where the poor guy hadn't played much football all year, has a ball bouncing towards him and decides he better catch it. And then, unfortunately, he doesn't do a good job of catching it, fumbles it. Bengals recover, go on and score a touchdown, win the game. Cowboys either could have let that ball go, maybe had a chance to run the clock out a little bit and get a winning field goal. It was there for them. They blocked the punt. Unfortunately, they had a somewhat green person on the field with the ball headed toward him. You have to feel for him. He probably had a lot of not too many thoughts go in his head because he had a split second to make a decision, and that ball was right in front of him. So I don't know what the conversations have been from coaches and players about that play. I have just about quit watching, reading. I did watch some of the game last week. I don't think I watched any of it. I think I just heard they won. It's been that bad. I've been a diehard Cowboy fan since I was a child, and it's rough to watch years like this. They happen to all teams. Every now and then a team will just have a year where you just can't, the injuries just add up. They had a couple bad games that, I thought they could have overcome those in the long run through the season, but once the injuries started adding up, no, they were struggling. They just lost too many people, good people. Defense, Dak. I know a lot of people in Dallas are still 50-50 on Dak. If you talk to some people, they're like, no, we still need to get rid of him. And some people say he's the guy we need. So don't talk to too many people in Dallas about Dak. You'll definitely get an opinion one way or the other. But he is a good quarterback for what people think. He can definitely throw the ball, and he can definitely make plays. But he got injured, and things with the defense, their injuries have gone south pretty bad. So we'll hope somehow or another the Dallas Cowboys can find 2 offensive linemen in the draft next year, because we've had an array of injuries there too. People that we have relied on for years they're getting up there. So we probably need to find, before we can talk about any kind of playoffs again, an offensive line that we can put together that's going to be consistent and play well. And I'm not faulting any of the players on the line. You watch some of those games, and it has been a merry-go-round for them also. So it's kind of a shame, especially if you're a Cowboy fan. It's a real shame. If you're a Cowboy hater, you're probably loving life right now. So, but that's the Cowboys in a nutshell. We are not too happy with this season, and we have to start talking about next year, and we're only in December talking about next year. So it's rough for any fan of any team to start talking about next year before a playoff game is even played in their sport. And that's what we are. And again, hopefully the draft, it'll be a long, long off season for us Cowboy fans. It is what it is. I don't know if they're going to fire Mike McCarthy or Zimmer, or I saw some headline. Like I said, I'm not reading, but you see the headlines they come across saying that Jerry still likes his coaches or something to that effect. And of course, I don't know what Jerry's really thinking, because I don't think anyone really knows what Jerry's thinking anymore. It would be nice if we could get a real GM. We had a chance it's been a while even for that, when Bill Parcells was here, who was actually starting to put together a pretty good team before him and Jerry had their falling out. But it would be nice to get a good GM. I know I put in one either X post or the blog, the written version of this, that we really would be great if we could get a young dynamic GM and a young dynamic coach and just let them build on it for 3 or 4 years and see what happens. I think we're at that point where we may have to do that. I don't fault Mike McCarthy. I still think he's a good coach, but at this point, I think, and I hate using the word blow it up. I don't know if we want to blow it up, but we got to start doing something different. And, with Jerry, I don't think we'll ever get the ability to get, 2 young people, dynamic, that can change the whole atmosphere around and bring in a whole group of new people to start building. I mean, it's really, again, I have nothing against McCarthy and Dak. I still think he's a good quarterback. But if you want to start talking about long-term future for the Cowboys, it's a complete 180 from where we are right now. And that's getting new people in the GM spot. And Jerry needs to retire across, but he's never going to do it. But he needs to retire across the board. He can sit in the owner's box and be happy, but he's got to give up complete control to a whole group of new people if he ever wants to win another championship in his lifetime. And, hopefully he lives a long time and we see another championship in his lifetime, but soon, not too long. But until he gives up the ghost, it's going to be a struggle for Cowboys fans. Now, there is still a major glimmer. I don't think it's a glimmer. It's kind of a bright spot. Our wonderful Dallas Mavericks started out a little rough, had that 4 or 5 game losing streak where everybody started thinking everything was falling apart. Then all of a sudden, even with injuries and this infamous illness a few of them had, the Mavericks started playing well or started coming together, and we are in 4th place in the Western Conference. And that's where you want to be, in the top 4, so you at least get 1 home series. Get up to 2 or 3, and you get 2 home series in the playoffs. And it's tight. Western Conference there are some good teams in the Western Conference across the board. I'm not quite sure why Minnesota traded Cat to New York and got Julius Randle. I don't follow Minnesota, so I don't know all the little ins and outs of their thinkings. But I thought they would have stayed much more competitive if they'd kept him, Karl Anthony Towns, if you don't understand who Cat is, K-A-T. And so that was kind of a shock that they made that trade, and now they're not where they were last year. So that was, Karl Anthony Towns is a great player. Whatever chemistry problem the management thought they had, or thinking that Anthony Edwards was going to be the man, I don't know. It just seemed weird at the time. For everybody that said that trade wasn't going to work, they are, at this point, it's panning out for that thought. We have to think about why they did that. I don't know. But they are not doing as well as they did last year. Bring all that up because the Mavericks played them in the Western Conference Finals. And so you would have thought that they would have at least been a team that could get to the second round of the finals again. I think depending on who plays who in the playoffs, and we're still a long way, things could change dramatically between now and then. As with any sports, injuries are always a concern. Mavericks have already been through some minor. Poor Maxi Kleber can't walk out of his house without getting injured, but a few people got sick. Clay had that plantar fasciitis, which if you ever had it is pretty painful on the foot to walk on. And so they've had, no major injuries, but a lot of heavy minor injuries. A few heavy minor injuries. I don't say major or semi-major because, Dante Exum, he's out for a while. That'd be considered a major injury if you start missing more than a month or two of a season. But other than that, we've got quite a promising season developing. We are headed into the infamous Christmas Day where the NBA will dominate the sports TV and Dallas will play Minnesota, but that's still, for the Mavericks, 4 games away. They got to play the Clippers twice and then the Trail Blazers. They win 3 of these 4 games at home, hopefully all 4. They seem to struggle at home for some reason. But if they can get 3 or 4 or 4 of these games, they'll probably stay in 4th place. We've got to play the Clippers twice, which when you play the same team back-to-back, it doesn't matter if it's on the road or home or split, 1 road, 1 home game. It's always a tough road to hoe to win both those games. So we'll see how those Clippers games go. I hope the Mavericks stay focused and don't let the Portland game get away from them because they do tend to do that occasionally. And then I think the lights will be on for Christmas Day. The Mavericks are healthy. And with the way Minnesota's going right now, they should win that game. You say that, and then I probably just jinx the heck out of them. But they should probably win that game. I'm not going to say easily. Minnesota's still a good team, maybe even a very good team. I don't think they're as good as last year, but they are still a good team. You got to be careful. But Luka likes the bright lights, so he may come out strong then. It's these 2 games with the Clippers that, go 1-1 on them, beat the Trailblazers, beat the Timberwolves, and you got 3 of the 4. Maybe the Clippers don't play well one of the games, and then we beat them in a tight game and go 4-4. That would be great because the Mavericks really just, I don't know, last year in the playoffs, it was probably better they played all series on the road because they were not as good as home as you'd expect a team to be. Overall, you want to see a home team win 4 out of 5 of their home playoff games, or whatever it is, 7 of 8, 6 of 8 of their home playoff games. And then, split the road games, go 50-50 on the road games is how you would normally think you can win series. But Mavericks had to win more road games because of their home struggles. But we'll see. We are very excited for the Mavericks. I mean, I am a big Mavericks fan. I've been a Mavericks fan since the get-go. I remember sitting in Reunion Arena and watched all 3 games of the Mavericks and the Los Angeles Lakers in the 1980s when the Mavericks played them in the Western Conference Finals. I had nosebleed seats, but I loved every minute of it. Enjoyed those 3 games tremendously. Mavericks won all 3 of their home games, and unfortunately, the Lakers won all 4 of their home games. And that was the first time we all started trying to taste success for the Mavericks. And then one of the saddest stories in sports to me is the Roy Tarpley. He was a great athlete, and I don't know how many mistakes he made. And I think that set the team back for years, trying to get him to come back and play well year after year. He played a couple years real well, and he started having his little issues, and we lost him, and then things went south in the 90s. We got Dirk for the 2000s, and then for the 2000 teens, we kind of putzed around, and then we now sit with Luka, Kyrie, Clay, Quentin, Marshall. I could go on and on. Even Dinwiddie's back, Hardy. I'm trying to think of everybody on the team right now. Of course, Maxi Kleber, Dwight Powell, the old people that were the centers when we went to the Western Conference Finals 3 years ago. Has it been that long? So it's crazy now that we have 2 real centers, Gafford and Lively. It's just, we sat through the whole Dirk era looking for a prominent, dominant center, I mean, we tried a whole bunch of people. A few people played well, did okay. I'm trying to think of the one person, Eric, I think it was his first name, that was so inconsistent at center play, it was maddening. But now we got two young centers, one of them really young, gives just a ton of hope for the future. Speaking of the future, I get a little tired of all these, we need to trade for this player or that player. I know there's one real prominent name out there right now that the Mavericks are associated with. And you could trade for him, but you sacrifice your future for let's hope we win this year kind of moment. He's 35. I'm not even going to mention the name, even though I really think he's a great player. He's a great player, but he's 35, and it is a win now because we are probably giving up way too much of our team, the strength and depth of the team to where we have so many people we got P.J. Washington. I think he's, 26 now, 27, and he is really coming around. We got, like I said, Quentin Grimes, Marshall, Hardy. I mean, these are players that can play. And to give a chunk of that up, Dante Exum coming back, I don't know, baffles my mind that people think that the Mavericks should make this trade. Again, it is a jump to a large chance we could win this year, but I'd rather stick with the chances we have with the players we have for 3, 4, 5 years, because we have a lot of people in their mid-20s. Gafford's 26, 27. Like I said, Washington's 26, 27. Luka's 25, will be 26. I think in February. I'm not quite sure when his birthday is, but he's, mid-20s. Lively's 20. Hardy's early 20s. Who else do we have? I forget. Quentin Grimes, I think he's 23 or 24. You just don't want to give up that much talent development. I think they're past the point of development. They're just getting better. I think development's for young people who need to go through some development, but these people have developed, and they're just now becoming, really good players. Some of them may even become great as time wears on. Washington maybe, Grimes maybe, Marshall, he's really come along. It is who you play with. They always say that Luka makes everyone better. I think there's some truth to that, some serious truth to that, because people have a chance to do something. If you're a player that's good, but you have to be a star when you're not really at the level of the 10 or 15 stars in the league right now. You don't have a chance to become, I use the word develop again. You don't have a chance to become a great player. You've got people on this team, especially now with Clay and Kyrie, who have just the amount of, they're the vet leaders, even though Clay's only been here for the partial year. You got to think they're the vet leaders in regards to we've been there, we've done that. Kyrie has helped us last year with that. I think Clay's going to help us this year with that. Because you need people that, when these young players are coming in and making their first playoff series or second playoff series or second or third year in the playoffs, you need people that can look at them and say, hey, keep playing, just keep playing. Become the Ted Lasso guy, the goldfish, 10 seconds, forget it, keep moving. So got a lot of excitement for the Mavericks. I'm really excited. Again, this homestand coming up. Now there was a headline, and you never know how much, gravity, how much substance there is to it, that Luka's hurt and Kyrie's hurt. They didn't practice on Tuesday. That could be that they were really just resting them. Again, it's a long season. I'm pretty sure they're going to play both Clippers games if they are healthy. They won't be pulled rest for those two games. They might get pulled one or two of them if they're not 100% for the Portland game, which again could be, got to keep all these. But all these young players, all these players that aren't Kyrie and Luka are playing really well. I mean, really well. If you watch the games and watch them when they're in, they're playing well. And they're so, again, you go to depth. I was going to say there's so many of them. Well, it's basketball. There's only 15 players, but there's so many of them that you can use. I mean, you got 5 or 6 people who aren't starters that can play significant minutes and score significant points. Again, we got Lively and Gafford. Flip a coin who's starting right now. Lively's starting. But whenever they're in, either one of them, you've got dominant center play. You got a center who can play the game. A lot of teams don't have that. We are very blessed with that. Dwight Powell, for all his not being a real center, with him being able to come off the bench, if one of them's hurt or in foul trouble, if Gafford or Lively are hurt, or in foul trouble, Powell can be that person, that guy to get the job done for 5, 10, 15 minutes in a game. He has the experience. He's going to get beat up by big centers. We all know that. But he can come in and hustle. He does hustle. That's been his calling card for years. Get an offensive rebound, get in somebody's way, take a foul, take a charge, get hit in the face. If there's one person that's been hit in the face more times in the NBA, it's Dwight Powell. But, he gets those plays, he gets in there, causes disruptions. So we're still glad to have him. As far as I'm concerned, I don't know how some Mavericks fans feel about him. Some people think he's trade bait and definitely think Kleber's trade bait. I don't know what you could get if you think Kleber's trade bait because he's injured all the time. People aren't going to want to give up too much for someone who's injured all the time unless they're looking for the infamous expiring contracts, and I'm not quite sure when Maxi's last year is. So, but we've got depth, and there's a couple other players I haven't mentioned, Morris, who doesn't get any games, but I would like to see him in a game just for fun because, he's a great guy to have around. He's also that vet leadership they keep talking about on the bench. But I would still like to see him play a little bit if he's still got, as they say, some bounce in him, just because he seems to be really positive. You see him on the bench, and he's definitely got a little bit of a spark in him. So it would be good to see him on the floor occasionally just for fun. But, like I said, we got the depth. We got a lot of quality players, great players coming in off the bench and that depth is just got to be, what has allowed us to get through all these minor injuries and that bug that went through the team for 2 weeks, week and a half, 2 weeks, it seemed like. Somebody was always sick. When a bug goes through, they're close quarters. Somebody's going to get it. They don't know it for a day or two and spread the germ. It's just part of life. When you go to work with people every day, you're going to get a couple people sick. But they survived that. Hopefully they can survive whatever little injury Kyrie and Luka are supposedly headlined about. Kyrie was a sore shoulder, so maybe they'll rest him for one of those Clippers games. If not, they'll probably rest him for the Trailblazer game. Can see that. Luka, it was a something contusion. Did they say foot contusion? Again, if it's on top, probably not so bad. If it's like what Clay had on the bottom, where it's hard to walk, you probably do need to rest him, whether we like it or not. Maybe one of the Clippers games and Trailblazers games. But, can we beat the Trailblazers without Luka and Kyrie? I think if they play hard, yeah. We've got that kind of depth where we can put people on the floor. Dinwiddie could start. If Kyrie and Luka were out, you could start Grimes and Dinwiddie at guards. And you're not hurting. You're not hurting bad at all. You've got a really good chance at winning some games against teams that are, I don't want to say struggling. I don't think the Trailblazers are struggling. I think they're going through some, maybe struggling is right because they play well and then they don't play well. I'm not quite sure I don't follow them every day, so I don't know what's going on, but it seems like they do have some good games and you wonder what's going on because sometimes they don't have good games too. And then from there, we'll be in 2025, a week later, and things will start to get real interesting. Of course, with the Stars too, they'll be in 2025 and new year, new optimism. But, for the Mavericks, are we going to stay the course, keep our team, keep it for the next 3 or 4 years, because I'm all for that? Or do we roll the dice and go get somebody else and give up some of our depth, youth, and future for a win now this year. Again, I'm not in favor of that, but I am not in charge. But that's where Dallas sports stands right now. FC Dallas, the soccer team, I have to admit I like soccer, but I don't pay enough attention to them. But I do at least give them a infamous shout out that they are around, and I do. And I have seen some of their games, but I don't know where they stand right now going forward. So we hope they do well. My son played soccer for years, so we do kind of keep an eye on the soccer world, of course, with the World Cup coming up, and some of it going to be in Dallas. We are going to go to some games. But other than that, it is the holidays. Happy holidays. I probably won't do a podcast before Christmas, so I want to wish you a Merry Christmas, prosperous New Year. Hopefully I'll get back to doing these again. They may be more life-generated and sports-generated than politic-generated for a while. I don't know. We'll have to see how things play out. I do know that the Democrats have ticked me off. I know that Republicans are going to tick me off. Sooner or later, I'm going to get mad enough to do something. But again, happy holidays for now. I hope all goes well. I know sometimes for the holidays, it's rough for people. So much going on, stress. Some people are lonely. We got to take care of our friends and our family. Make sure you reach out and keep everybody in the holiday spirit. And y'all have a Merry Christmas. Thank you.